Welcome to News from Down Home. Now, in 1903, my branch of the Whittison family moved from Western Pennsylvania to Somerset County, Maryland, Princess Anne being the county seat. My great grandfather bought a farm from someone, or bought the farm of, that had been owned by a person named Frank Reed, who I don't know anything about. And so I'm discussing news from down home. I still consider it my hometown, even though we moved away. My immediate family moved away when I was just 13. I had a idyllic time as a young child roaming the forests, the creeks, the fields with my three-legged German Shepherd dog, Rin Tin Tin. Um, and just it was wonderful for me, although not for other members of my family for many reasons. But I certainly enjoyed it, and I still look back at it as an ideal time. In fact, I have home videos on my computer that I watch every morning. To start with every morning. I just see that now. The fields that I roamed at my home, the little farmette we had, little 30-acre farmette we had on Stewart's Neck Road, those fields have become woods again, and I would never want to take them away from being that because of all the animals that live there. But I remember it as fields, and the house seemed so much smaller than when we lived there. My father had built in the early '60s, but that's what happens when you grow up. The things you knew when you were young were small. So the Marylander and Herald was the paper of record, and it until the 1980s. And it looks like a man named William H. DeShiel owned it at the time. But let's talk about what is posted in that paper on Tuesday morning, December 7th, 1915. Now, I thought it was interesting. The public school notes. Um, DeShiel was secretary of the school board, and he sent a notice to the teachers of the white schools of the county. And he said the public schools of the county will close for Christmas holidays on Thursday afternoon, December 23rd, and reopen on January 3rd, 1916. And he talked about the semi-annual examinations will be held during the week of January 17th to the 21st. The schedule of examinations was interesting. Think about this: when you were in high school, maybe your kids are in high school, do they have these kinds of examinations? The first day was exams on arithmetic and spelling. The teachers would prepare. The second day was United States history and then language. The third day, physiology, art, civics. Fourth day, science, geography, test and penmanship. And the fifth day, reading, history of Maryland. Now, the teachers were to prepare their own questions for the examinations, and of course, they marked the results on a scale of 1 to 100. And then high school principals were requested to formulate their own schedule for high school grades upon the above dates to make similar record of results. So it was very controlled. And he told specifically, and then he talks about the black schools, which he called colored because that was what they called back then. The fall term of the colored public schools would close on Friday, December 17th, and they would have annual, instead of semi-annual, they would have annual examinations, and they were being held the last week of the spring term, which would begin on March 20th and end on April 14th. So I thought this was interesting. This is the way schools did back then. I remember my father, who focused on agriculture in high school, still had to take Latin. I've got his textbook, so that's very interesting. Okay, let's leave the Maryland and Herald and let's go over to the walking tour of Princess Anne that I was looking at. I have a book called The Walking Tour of Princess Anne, Maryland, from the Look Up America series. And we're on the Fontaine Fitzgerald house that they say is at 30459 Prince William Street. Now, the picture in their book was rather dismal. It looked like the house was run down and falling down and just, not going to make it. But when I found a real estate website, it told a different story with a different picture, which I'll try to post. It says the Fontaine Fitzgerald House was built in 1852. The home was one of the most revered homes in Princess Anne. It was occupied by only members of two families, and it was until recently the centerpiece of society. However, during the early 2000s, there was a recession, as you know. The home wasn't taken care of. But in 2010, it was saved from ruin, the picture that I saw in the book, by a local renovator of historic properties who made significant structural repairs needed to stabilize the home, the grand home, they call it. The home is unique to PA and Maryland because nearly all of the home's original details are intact, from period hardware to original exterior beveled weatherboard siding to porch railing and the original floor plan. So I thought that was fascinating. I hope that you will too. And I hope that you'll feel free to make comments if you know any of the people I mentioned, if you've been to these homes or even seen them, if you knew the history or you have something else to add. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Please put it in the comments. Thank you.